Hello everyone, welcome to episode 1 of Kara Academy. Today we'll be talking about whether throws are worth it or not. We all love throwing. I know you do. I do love throws. And the thing is, about throws, new players can't tech them. Many more cannot for their life know how to delay tech. And if they do know, you just shimmy the shit out of them and they die. And they don't know when the throw is coming to boot. It's so cheap, am I right? But you've heard it a lot already. Just take the throw. So you have to ask yourself, was it worth it? Is there any truth that people are talking about? So today we'll give you a graphical representation and how you can structure your offense, or just like kind of brainstorm your own offense. When you structure your offense, you can hit the lab, maybe write down this and that. And today we'll give you an example on how to think about it. And today we'll be using the concept of opportunity cost, the highest cost forgone for choosing one option. So let's get to it right away. So today we'll be talking about some attacker scenarios, and we'll talk about the game plan a bit too. So let's use that top left corner to talk about first part. The most efficient way, because we're talking about opportunity cost, we have to take cost in consideration. And Street Fighter 6 is a macro heavy game, so a lot of resources are used here and there for both attacking and defense. So today we'll be first starting with the plus. Oh, let's make it smaller. Plus on block. Normal. So the plus on block normal is really nice to go into throw. It is also known as a tick throw. Give yourself a pat on the back if you know this was coming. A tick throw is the most common way to get people to get a throw on the dude. Especially used in the corner, mid-screen, not as much because of the reward. We'll talk about that in a bit. So tick throws are very efficient. So we'll mark that as up here. So tick throws are very efficient because there are a few ways to get plus on block normals. You can set up meaties to get to it. And furthermore, they're resourceless after the plus on block normal is hit. So if you spend some resources to get that plus on block, we'll count that as 1. But in general, they are very low resource. So they're relatively resourceless because you can just run your offense and get that. So, and we'll also notate the cost with our green marker and our little drive symbol. So it'll be 0 to 1. So that's our cost. So 0 to 1 drive gauge. So there's resources. It frame traps. It does everything. Very nice option. And let's talk about what happens if you hit or don't hit the throw. So on hit, you get damage. God damn it. Damage. And if you tech or escape, they will return to neutral. So we'll be indicating neutral into as NEUCH, neuch. So this is our hit into neutral. So the thing about this is that going for it didn't cost that much resource anyway. So returning to neutral is more of a offense, and they return to neutral kind of state. So they defended correctly. They defended the offense correctly. That's a better way to put it. So on hit, you get the damage, and the situation after will differ depending on whether you spend further resources or not. So the meterless version will likely result in limited advantage. So it'll be advantage minus. Let's put it that way. Advantage minus. And if you spend resources, it'll go to Oki. And then this will cost usually plus 1 gauge. So this will result in Oki. So you get slight advantage for hitting the throw, and you get Oki if you are willing to spend. So total cost of this would be around 2 to 3, depending on how much you spend to spend the resources. Usually it's 2. So here we have the plus 1 block normal. In corner, this one further reduces because you don't need a to spend drive further if you have a throw loop. So that's very efficient way of putting it. Next one we have is normal into drive rush. So let's write it down. DR normal into throw. This one is an option that is very expensive. It does free drive gauge. So let's write that down. Drive gauge free. because you cancel a normal into the drive cancel. So that would be free drive gauge. This will threaten with a frame trap. Also, just like above. So you essentially have a +1 block normal. But the reward is the same as above. Reward, it will be hit equals damage. Tick or escape equals neuch. The thing about this is that even if you hit it, especially in mid-screen, you will have to spend the same resource as above. So it will be the same as advantage minus or Oki +1 cost. So this is concerning for a few reasons, because you spend a total of 4. So this will be net 4 actually. So Oki will be net 4 if you spend that. And the reward is the exact same as the above. And there are so many things that you can be doing other than this. Yes, you do have this throw as a frame trap option, but pressing a button will also catch their mash. And if they jump your throw, you could also be pressing a button to cover that jump at the same time. The risk of going for a throw is also relatively high, because for the option, you forego the damage option for the risk of getting a small one, and if they tick it, nothing happens. You get no advantage. So this is neuch again. Like, yeah, we wrote that already. So this is neuch. This is very important to note. And the problem is, if you get this Oki, let's continue this chart. If you get Oki, you only have 4 drive remaining. So what can you... No, you only have 2 drive remaining. 2 DR left. And you can't confirm anything substantially unless you're one of those privileged characters that can do meterless conversions, like very efficient ones. You got Luke, you got Ken, who has the run combos that basically give him the value of an EX normal. But in general, it is quite expensive. If you spend 2 drive rush, confirms are limited. So confirms are limited, and if you put your risk into a good combo, you put yourself in a risk of, you know what, burnout. And burnout is always bad. I always encourage against going to burnout unless you know what you're doing. Burnout is okay if you get a huge advantage state and are able to maintain it to the point where you can get it back, you spend super to spend time and such, and so on. So this is the basis of why the reward of throws are not as good as you think relative to the risk you take, aka when it doesn't work out. It is important or imperative that you should think about the reward versus the cost you go for. So instead, we can talk about the hit scenario or the game plan. So if you hit this, let's draw a line in between. Whoops. Hit scenario. For example, you spend your resources on a hit. You get to put them on block. If they block, you get drive damage most of the time. Drive damage. This is good for you. And if it's a hit, you get higher damage. More often than not, characters will have better Oki. So we get Oki. And then we get even better Oki if we spend resources. So if we spend resources, it will be Oki plus. And yeah, the thing is, as we said earlier, if you use throw as a frame trap option, you could be doing a hit and going for much more. And on block, not only do you get the drive advantage, you also get to advance the game state. So let's talk about the game state. So let me put it down. So game state plus. So not only do you get the drive pressure on, many characters are able to push them into the corner. So if you play Grand Blue Versus, you know that the corner is how you win games, and that is especially true in Street Fighter 6. So corner gives you access to the option earlier of the plus one block normal scenario or the corner throw scenario. Basically, you spend 0 resources because you're in the corner already. The reward of getting a throw is much higher because you don't have to spend for Oki again, and you are much able to put on a front loaded mix-up non-stop. So let's create some space from here. We talked about this already. So corner, it will limit their options. So what options are we limiting? First one, we're limiting movement. Movement is everything in fighting games. You can't move. That means you can open up to whiff punishing. You limit their button choice, and much more. You get to control them basically. If they try to jump out, they get an AA, and generally they have DI risk. So DI, the mental stack is immense. So the other thing in corner is that you get better combos. And also you also get the same scenario of resourceless Oki. Whoops, I clicked on that. Go down. So resources Oki. So, and this is very important because this is very drive efficient. So here we kind of explain the basics of why you should consider how it's worth and how you should think about your throws in general. And this can be applied to everything. Should I be going for this frame trap compared to the other? What happens after the frame trap? So you have to ask yourself, hit or it doesn't hit. So success or non-success, success or failure. Whether it hits, what happens after? What's the cost forgone? What happens if I get the throw? And if I do this, do I actually just catch the same options? Because in this case, this hypothetical example that we talk about, it covers the same scenarios and it also covers gains you a higher reward for much less risk. In fact, the least ideal situation is even more advantageous than the one we have with the driver's normal into throw. Why I use this example in particular? Because so many people are doing it and they don't really win the game off it. Unless you are someone like Luke, you get to do return to neutral and have a great advantageous situation with the use of sandblast and such. Maybe it could be good. You can be using it for the intangibles, the conditioning. But again, is it more important than pushing them to the corner and such? This topic is very, very open to discussion. So it is important that you think about this in your own matchups. You have to think about whether pushing the corner is a more important objective. For example, in early game, you definitely want them in the corner. Or in the mid game, pushing them to the corner, they have so much meter. I could be getting hit by a level 3 reversal and die. So maybe the corner isn't as important. I wouldn't get that much value of this aspect of getting Oki, looping Oki non-stop. Very efficient and looping Oki. So yeah, do think for yourself. And maybe write it down. Use a flowchart. Use a mind map and such. So yeah, I hope today this was helpful. This is the first episode of Car Academy, and I hope I taught you a thing or two on risk reward and whether you should be going for throw and what opportunity cost you're missing.